Hello, everybody, and welcome to another session of desktop publishing. This is part 4, the exciting part where we get into finalizing and finishing what we've been working on. So today we're going to talk about all that fun stuff of getting it ready for printing and press ready. So again, thanks for joining us. My name is Tom Strnad, and I have Jeff Wilson here with us as well. And in terms of what we're using and doing, we have so Jeff Wilson, who you've seen through a lot of the digital design, so illustration, animation workshops that we've done. He has anthologies and comics and books that he's published. So he'll be sharing some of that insight and knowledge with us today too on that kind of end process of things. So we're really excited to talk about that. In terms of the software, we're using Affinity Publisher. I hope you're able to see, or you've seen parts 1 through 3 so far in this 4-part series. Everything is on our YouTube channel, so go and visit that. Affinity Publisher software is just like InDesign, very similar to the Adobe InDesign. And right now they have a 50% off, and there's some educational pricing and stuff. So about $35 to get this software for Mac and Windows systems. So that's what it's on. You can't use it on iPads yet, but maybe that will be something in the future. So just wanted to mention that. So let's move right over to the software. So here's just the screen I have. This is the project we were working on over the last few sessions. And basically what we did was I took some of my photos and looked at putting it in and doing a whole layout. And we talked about how to do the boxes and different shapes and the text boxes, and we worked on that. So this is kind of my finished 5-page little mini book photo essay, let's say, on winter, and just giving some insight of what how things are and so on, and in my explorations through photo, video, and so on. So what we want to do is I just want to demonstrate something quickly, and we'll get back to this again more if there's questions. Again, you can ask us any questions in the Ask a Question or chat boxes, and so I just wanted to show once this is done, because we had that prepared last time, we have the project saved. And what I'm going to do is go up to File, and then I will go to Export. And so I will do the export, and it has some pre-flight warnings. Now, the warnings are, it says one of my images are a low DPI, or dots per square inch, too low. That's okay, I'm just gonna ignore that. And then there's another thing that says spelling mistake, brr, which is the winter statement that I have there. So I'm gonna ignore those. So otherwise, if there's something like some of this pre-flight could tell you that you're missing images that maybe aren't relinking, or there's some other errors for printing. So you wanna look at these warnings and make sure they're relevant. So the spelling mistake is purposeful, and the DPI, I'm not going to worry about. It's just the image is what I have, so that's all I got. So I'm going to just ignore that and just go with that. So I'm going to ignore and continue. Then I'm going to get some of these settings, and let me just see if I can. Zoom in here. So I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit on the screen. So this is on the export window. It gives us all these options. So you can do PDF, PNG, JPEGs. So all these things. So what I want to just do is do a PDF. And I'm going to go press ready. So there we go. And that gives all the settings. And I'm going to choose all spreads, or I can choose specific pages. So I want the whole 5 pages. So that's it. PDF, press ready. It's telling me it's going to be about 6.5 megabytes in total size. And I will go export. Now I got to choose where to put it. And I can also, choose, the name and so on, but I'm just going to go, okay, save. And let me just actually zoom out here because I'm not seeing the name. So I'm going to go photo book. Well, we want to call it something nice. Tom's photo book print ready. I'll say save. and it's going to export. It just takes a little bit of, there we go, 10 seconds. So that's it. We've exported. And what does that end up looking like? Let me just switch over here. So what it's going to do is we're going to have this a PDF. So I'm just going to open it up in Tom's photo book. Okay, and so what we have now is we have this PDF, and this I'm just previewing it through. So there we go, page 1, page 2, 3, with all the images, page 4, 5. So you can see it's taken everything that that we've worked on, and there's looks like there's a couple glitches just with some of my photos. So that's really, again, what we talked about last week or last session. What you see is what you get. So I'm seeing a few errors here just in some of the borders in the photos. So I would want to fix that before I'd continue sending it out. So again, all this kind of stuff is important. The previews and looking at your PDFs and seeing what's in there. I definitely have a few digitization, like pixel things happening here. So I would just have to realign some of the photos that I probably lost some links to. So anyways, all good, but that's kind of the process of where we want to get to, and kind of finish off with being able to go there. So yeah, so let me just, I'm going to hand it over to Jeff here in just 1 second here. I'm just going to switch over this, go to my full screen mode here. Okay. And here we go. I'm going to hand it right over to Jeff. Here we go, Jeff, and it's over to you.
Okay, and thank you again, Tom. And very exciting process you just went through there. The digitization of your publication, and it's something that if you're going to get into self-publishing, you'll be that first process is a learning step to the next process. And trust me, it's a process where your first project will not be as good as your second project, because you'll have learned that much from your first project. So, and you'll probably have to repeat several things in your first project to keep learning. So it's kind of exciting, but it can be frustrating too. So, but the main thing is to just not put too much pressure on yourself, and let yourself give yourself a room to learn, and not think it's going to always be great the first time. Sometimes you will get lucky and it'll be perfect the first time. The next time, though, we were talking about this earlier, Tom and I, the second time you might not be so lucky, and you might not have learned that step. So don't be frustrated by as much as you can be, not frustrated. Just realize that you're in a learning mode. So the thing you will find is each printing publisher will have their own presets, and they'll normally have like a guide of some kind that they can forward you, or that they can have available on their website if they're a website based, and they'll have their size formats. And if you've got a kind of a vision of what you want to do with your book, you would obviously find the format that would best fit with what you're working with. And I could, let's see if I'm able to show you on my, here we go. I'm just going to switch it over to share screen here, and I'll share the screen to show you what I'm talking about with the visual I have here on Procreate here. So here we are. This is the show you a little bit of what you might find if you've decided on this format. For most of my books, I've chosen a wider than deep format. With this one, we're seeing here on the Procreate screen. This is more of a portrait style, so it'd be taller than wide. And so the first page obviously would be your cover, and that would be your the one end of your book. That you've got bookends. You've got your cover and your back cover. So it's showing a bit of a different format there. And then in this particular book, they've shown the pages 2 and 3 are blank, And you'll note that your story doesn't start until after page until pages 6 and 7. So the story is shown with the blue arrows, and then it going through to the 28 and 29, and then the end pages are blank, and then your back cover, which is 32 here. So keep that in mind too, is that you are you'll have the two covers, front and back, and which are normally done in separate in a separate file, your front and back cover to the rest of your volume there, and that your story doesn't normally start in until a few pages in, but of course that's the publisher's prerogative where it starts and ends. A few of the things that you will need to keep in mind, obviously, is the size format, and it has to be something, again, that is offered by your printer slash publisher, and you have to know what depth of gutters and borders that you would have in your book. And these can all be found through websites, or if you have technical questions. I think most of the desktop publishers have good tech departments that are very responsive to get back to you and can help you. But they should be able to give you formats that you can follow as guidelines, and shouldn't have any problem really. But again, the factor, the mysterious factor that always creeps in, there's always something that you didn't plan for, and thus the learning process. So this is really, drawing is the easy part. This is the tricky part for me, is getting this stuff right. And there's always something in a book I've submitted. It's like your gutter you've got something 1/8 of an inch over top of the line into the gutter. So there are I guess tech bots that are going through all the files and making sure it's just going to be great. But the good news is that they will let you know, and they will be able to help you head off any issues you might run into. And so that's the good news, and that's not a big problem. So there's cost factors as well. If you're printing and sending yourself copies to sell, and if you're doing something where you're signing your books and selling signed books, you will probably go with this option more often than the others. You'll probably want to at least have a few available so that you can sign them and distribute them yourself. So to do that, you have to purchase copies, and luckily most of these printers will give you a reduced cost, because you're a customer and you're able to print it at a separate cost, and you can make a bit of a markup for yourself when you sell them in whatever way you do it, either at a bookshop, a consignment shop, however you choose, or even out of your home, or at a book launch somewhere and that could be anywhere really that one could be set up. Your costs would usually be go between color and black and white. So if you have a color cover and a black and white interior, it would be obviously a lot less than a color cover and color interior. So I think your costs increase quite a bit once you go to the full color for your interior. But it makes for a far superior product if you're when you're selling a book. A far superior visual product, and that's what you want. You want to have a good product to make available, and I've chosen the black and white because as a cartoonist in the past, that's been all that's been available to me to print in is black and white. The newspapers were mostly black and white up until very recent times, the last 10 years. And now the news publication I work for, it does all color pages, and that's very very new. That hasn't been around for a very long time. So, but some of the new comic features I do, they're all in color. So this is something to look at when you're doing product. If it's all color, all the content, it's going to increase your cost a lot. So you have to keep that in mind. You want to keep it affordable that somebody can afford to buy it too. So that's always a consideration as well. That'll be a very major consideration if you have a low budget. If you have a bigger budget, that's when you might want to expand on that, but we'll talk about that a little later. The number of pages, that is going to affect your cost of your product as well. You might have, as we have here, the 31 page document here. You might have something like that, and obviously that's going to be less than something that's 100 pages. So that's going to be a factor as well. And then it's all closed off by your back cover, and then that's your book. So you let's say everything's good. You've exported to your Adobe PDF, what have you. It as Tom did, and very very well done, Tom. He did the checking through everything and make sure there's no problems, and that's what you have to do. And once you do, you'll probably find a few things to edit. You might have to edit a photo or edit your text, and quite often there's like text errors or typos and whatnot, and it'll pick up most of them. But it never hurts to just physically go over what you're doing too, and make sure what you're doing is everything fits right too. What I quite often do is I go through all my comics and make sure they're all within the box, the image box that it's in, and it's not cutting off any part of the comics, and it's not spilling over a gutter or into the center of the book. So I always make sure of all that. I usually go over it many times. Edit, re-edit. It's a tough process, but when it's your baby and it's going out there and you want it to be just right, you do it, because you the more you study it, the more you check it, and it's always a good thing to get other people to help you. I get my lovely wife to help me do the editing process. She will go through PDFs with me and make sure I've caught everything, and because two eyes are often better than one, and you may think you'll catch everything, but trust me, you're a human being. Your eyes will eventually miss something, and I will say too that unless you really do the editing and re-editing, you could be finding something that you'll say, gosh, I'll hate myself forever because I missed that. And you don't want to go there. None of us wants to go there. So so as I said, the editing process. Now, what I do, and not all people do this because their timelines are different than mine. I like to order a low-cost author's edit. So that will be like basically the first copy off the presses. And after all your digital online checking and rechecking and editing, and just one or two issues that I can edit again, and I can get somebody else like my lovely wife to edit separately, and then we check it over. And then once you've found everything that's could be in error there, and I was just telling Tom recently this new book that I'm working on, which is the second volume of my Average Farm Companion series, and as I ordered the author's copy, I thought, well, as soon as I get the copy, I'll be able to check, and I'll just be able to send it out. Well, on the cover, sure enough, I find a big smear of black ink across, which was an error that I had done in the editing process in Photoshop. Totally different from what we've done here on the publisher format. And I totally missed it. I totally missed it until that point when I was about to hit the button and say print a whole bunch of books. So it was a good thing I did, and so that just shows you that even though you check and recheck, it doesn't hurt to have one extra little look, and it's worth it. It's well worth it. So then everything's good. So you have the option to edit your final copy that you've uploaded for the printer, and make sure that that's live. Make sure you've uploaded the most recent, the best version that you can, and it all is live. So you upload it again to your printer, and you say, okay, it's time to sell. Now let's have a look here. The then that creates a new process for you where you're sending your book out. So what will happen is probably your printer is going to edit it through their system and make sure that it's fitting all their requirements, that the gutters are in the right area, like your work isn't spilling over gutters and into areas that they shouldn't, so that won't be printed. That's always a very important consideration. And then you have your details, like your what language do you want it to be sold in? If you're when you're involved with Amazon, that'll be something that if you're selling it through Amazon, you'll need to identify what your book is and who will buy it, and things like the content, what's in it. Is it is it for children? Is it okay for children? Is it not okay for children? The pricing and rights, who owns the rights to it? What price do you want to attach to it? These are all considerations that you need to look at too. This was for my Barbie and Jeff Blogtoon's cartoon book that I'm working on, that I've run into a few problems with for reasons that I will talk about a little later here. But we'll go on to the next page. Now, you can be assigned an ISBN number if you're with certain publishers. In this case, it was KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, that I was exploring this with. And they can assign you one, or you can go about it your own way and get your own ISBN number. Now, you can it's a bit of a process. I'm not sure what it is now, but I've always just gone with the ISBN number given to me by Amazon or Kindle Direct Publishing. But you can go through the process of getting your own ISBN number, and then whoever publishes it after that first run, you can use that number indefinitely. So that's the option of doing it that way. It's not a bad option if you want to go through the process. I'm not sure how difficult it is, but I would say in this digital age, probably not as difficult as it was when I published my first book, which was a cut and paste job I did back in the 1990s. And I waited 3 weeks till my application to the ISBN was accepted, and I was issued a number. So I'm sure they've fast-tracked it since then. Now, then let's take a look at our screen here too. So you can determine your publication date. It can be like right now, or you can hold off and say, I'd rather wait till just before Christmas and make it an item that will sell over the Christmas season, that will launch at that time. So that's always a good option too. And that's for anything that you might put on Amazon too. That's a very important consideration. And let's have a look here. Okay, now this is this was a page I just kind of put up here because if you're doing anything, there's normally a review process, and that's just a matter of being patient. It's probably to your benefit. It's making sure the product is as good as it'll be when it's in its final process, and once it is, it's all been checked over, and the publisher or the printer is fine that you've met all their printing regulations, and you'll probably be pickier than they are, although sometimes you'll be surprised they can be pickier than you are. Then you can go live, and you can keep things going, and you can add new titles. You can plan this ahead of time too. but it's I would say keep on top of it. Keep checking what new processes are happening um, with the company that you're with, and if not, it's always good to even check what somebody else is doing too, and somebody that maybe you like but you didn't follow through with the first time. It never hurts to just kind of keep on top of things, and the processes are changing all the time, as I'm finding. If you don't stay on top of it, you'll find several things have changed on you here. So this is what, if you publish several books, and this is my KDP bookshelf, and I've got several. I guess I got 3 books on there now, and it'll give you all the information how to continue your setup, how to promote and advertise. You can do all sorts of things through it. You can make your book into a Kindle book through Amazon or through most of the other systems as well. So that's a great option as well. And let's go back here. And yeah, you have many options. Let's just take a look at the here. Now, the what I would say, and this is kind of going back. We're creating a circle here because we're going back to the basics again. Is just to keep yourself, educate yourself as much as you can about the type of book you are making. Who would be the best printer for it, and if you have anybody that that is self-publishing, it's always good to talk to them. I've never met anybody that's self-published a book that isn't willing to have a conversation with you about it. It's something that it can be kind of therapeutic too if you're having some frustrating times. People are always wanting to learn more about it, but I don't think there's anybody that knows everything about it. So it's always something that you're always learning about. And there are things like and again, I'm not promoting any of these, but there's lots of information available online. Pick and choose what you think will work for you, and basically ignore the rest. You can't. There's stuff out there with a lot of good stuff, a lot of very good information, a lot of very mediocre information, a lot of just selling stuff to you. And there's information too that will help you avoid some pitfalls, and a lot of them are financial pitfalls. I would always be aware of making sure you're paying what you know to be a good price, because that we enter into this wanting to make money, but a lot of people can make the error of spending a lot of money to make money later and finding out that it was never possible in the first place. So I know in particularly a lot of independent comic publishers that I've met had run into they were so anxious to get their work out there that they jumped ahead and paid a lot of money out to print their comics, and ended up very deeply in debt and having almost a lifelong debt having to. So please don't get into an issue like that. I remember in college, I took cartooning at Sheridan College in between 1977 and 79. Our course coordinator was a man named Walter Hansen, and his advice always was, what, if you want to publish something, get somebody else to back you. And we all thought that was pretty funny. But, I look back and I see how easy it is for people to get into situations they just can't get out of. And don't do that. If you can get somebody to back you, and you're a good enough salesperson to do that, that's a good option. It's I didn't think I would have passed that advice along at one point, but I think I will now, because if somebody else sees the vision that you see and has the means to help you do it, then go ahead and ask them. but don't get yourself into a financial pickle because you have something that you think would pay off at some point, and just make sure you're not gambling your whole life away for something that you think would be cool just because you think it would be cool. It's your future is very important, and you want to do it right. So anyway, that's my advice there. And I would go back to say that edit and re-edit, learn as much as you can. I would definitely go through pricing and costs for printing, because but if you can find something, most publishers are pretty good. At one time, in the early days, which weren't that far back actually, in my early days, I guess, you would have, if you wanted to do a book like I've been doing, The Average Farm, which I can show you right now. These Average Farm books, if to do a book like this might have been, you might have had a minimum publishing run of 5,000. And can you imagine how expensive to do 5,000 books and having to sell them? But that's the way it was. Now you can, I ordered this one volume for the price of 2 cups of coffee, and had it shipped to myself, and within a well, in this case, it was about a month. So it's a lot different playing field than it used to be. So, but again, it can be so you can be so roped in by romanticism that you could overstep your boundaries. So what I would say is just to kind of step carefully and price with different companies. A lot of companies have technical departments that are very thorough and very professional. And I think we have a couple of Canadian ones that I've dealt with. One called Telwell Publishing, and another called Friesen Press, which have wonderful technical departments. They've been very helpful to the writers that I've worked with in those platforms, and they will send you out a guide as to how to publish, the format, all the specs that you need. And I would say to start with, always check with the specs that you would be working with. Check with the pricing, what it would cost per unit, how much it costs for authors' copies, for authors' proofs, and all that stuff. And make sure you're not investing too much into something that might not pay off for you in the long run. And know that it's a process. You're going to be learning, and the first time you'll learn so much, but the second time you'll have a much better product, and you'll learn that much more, and on and on. Like by the third or fourth book, you'll be saying, "Boy, this is so great. I'm really enjoying this," and that's where you want to be. If you can get to that point where it's becoming something you enjoy doing, fantastic. So let's see. I just maybe should give you a few pointers there. Now, as far as the exporting that is PDFs used to be the norm for publishing, but I see now, at least in one case, and that's the case I'm running into now with KDP Publishing. They have different departments now. It's now no longer you just send your PDF in and the format that they've given you guidelines for, and then they print it. Now they seem to have different departments. They have a children's book department where they're kind of guidelines, and they send you out if you want to publish one of those, they'll send you out the guidelines and actually a platform, I think, that you load on your Mac or your PC computer. And you, uh, in those particular type of books, you might not even need uh, your uh, your publisher program. They would probably do it for you, and you would just have to do Photoshop your images. Oh, and the images, by the way, I did want to say, Tom, in Tom's example, he had I think it was 96 dots per inch was one of the images, and that's something that you should try to make sure you have at least 300 dots per inch. I think that's the industry standard for the minimum that you should have, and and sometimes you can get away with less, that's okay. But things like Amazon and Kindle Direct Publishing, they'll pick up on those things, and they'll always tell you that you need to have at least 300 dots per inch. And in some cases, it's better to have 600 even. I've done a couple of children's books and illustrated them, I should say. I haven't written them, but I've illustrated others' children's books. And I actually did the one at 300 dots, or sorry, 600 dots per inch. And it was a very good result of that. So always consider that too, that if you go beyond the standard, that will probably be better for everybody in the long run, because the way they can print the book, like this particular book I'm speaking about, was published. I can show you that as well. The story of the Tamarack, which I did for Tobias Clark, and these images that I did for it were all about 600 dots per inch, and we were very happy with the results of the book here. And that's another example, printed by Telwell Publishing here in Canada. So it's really a good example of how going beyond that can be helpful as well. And let's see, I'm not sure if I had anything else to say about it. Yeah, just to keep. I was going to go back to the KDP Publishing. Yeah, they have a children's book style that they do, and you have to download the software for it. But they also have a comic publishing section now, which is very interesting. And I'm sure if a lot of you are into comics, that would be exciting. And you can do the same thing, just print 1 or 2 volumes at a time. There's that would be cool to make your own comic book and just have a copy of it, professionally published, and even if you just did it for that reason alone. So, and it's the same thing. You have to download the software and put it in. So it kind of takes away a step for the PDF, the exporting, but you might be spending more time in Photoshop and doing your JPEGs or TIFs, which are basically photograph type formats for images and that sort of thing. Yeah, and for some reason, I'm hearing from Amazon that the KDP that the PDFs are unreliable. So this is something that's quite new that I'm learning about myself. So as I say, always a learning experience, always something new, and never stop exploring. And if you lose interest, it'll bypass you. So anyway, I think I've covered just about everything that I had planned to. So I think at this time I might just turn it over to Tom, and maybe we could do some Q&A. I'm sure we'll have a few questions.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That's fantastic. Yeah, and on the just kind of further note of the publisher software, and I think that was kind of the real life example. So I did that export, and then there's 3 weird lines that showed up that I must have just they plopped in by accident. So I found them, I deleted them, and and now the proof is the thing looks better now. So So I just found them in there. So again, really I think important as I'm learning this process too, as everyone is out there as well. I'm kind of learning here with Jeff, and it's really fantastic. But I think that advice of just looking through it and getting those artist copies, so author copy, I think is really beneficial to see not just the digital version, but to see like how does it print out, right? And then it's much better to deal with one copy than if you did like 1,000, like Jeff said, and it has a big square dot in the middle or something. So I think it's really really valuable. And I know in the past, I think like what Jeff said, I think we should really digital technology. The great thing about it is that we can preview things, and I think that would be my advice is that look at it digitally as much as you can before you're getting to the printing stage, because there's no cost as it's on your computer and your desktop, but the cost starts to show up when you start getting the printed materials, right? So I think really great. And I think I just wanted to touch on the because Jeff mentioned there's potentially other files needed, and so exporting. So I just wanted to show that we didn't talk about it too much. I wanted to kind of wait, but I'm just going to ignore that error message. So the reason, and Jeff touched on that, the DPI level is low because I think one of those is like from a Instagram post that I just grabbed when I was trying to collect it. So those are going to be those things where, yeah, they're not ideal, but if that's all you have, then fine. But really, like Jeff said, you should really aim for those higher resolution things, because nobody wants to see a photo book with a pixelated Instagram crappy photo, right? So definitely great words of advice there. Make sure everything's high resolution, like that 300 DPI or more. More doesn't hurt, right? It's going to be the less that hurts for sure. Okay, so in the different export things here, so I just wanted to kind of show, so you can go to like PNG, JPEGs, GIFs, TIFFs, PDF. So, all these formats, it just comes down to what a publisher will ask for. So I did the PDF, and like Jeff mentioned, the one publisher doesn't want a PDF anymore. So if they say, hey, we want a JPEG or a TIFF, export, then you would simply just go to the TIFF and the JPEG. And then beyond that, they might have templates too. So, if they can also send you a template, and the publisher software can open up anything that would be in InDesign. So if it's an InDesign formatted template, you can open it in Publisher. So it goes both ways, right? And you can export your template to someone else as well. So it's a little bit on that. So we'll get into, I'm hoping we can do some template workshops in the future as well. But that idea of, able to bring some stuff in, to deal with templates and stuff. So I just wanted to show that exporting thing, that you can choose different formats, and then if there was a template, you could do that. So I'm just going to cancel that. Now, in terms of, to just kind of show this, and I'm just going to, yeah, I'm just going to present, let me see. Yeah, so I got this one print ready. So here it is again. So I did the print ready, and it's going to share this with Jeff too. Okay, so he can see so we can both see. So the print ready preview here, let me just get it to the full screen so everybody can see it on your end. Okay, so here we go. So here it is now. So I got rid of those little pixels. There's a bunch of these lines, like right here where I have the mouse, like here. So everything's looking clean now. I don't have anything that's there. And there's a big line right here. So it's just something I probably did with my mouse while I was just like setting up today. And it's that simple. Like you can just make a little error and, just make sure you look at it. There's, and then you can lock layers and that you can do that kind of stuff too. But it's very easy to just inadvertently to like, slide something, create a line or a box, and then all of a sudden, right? So yeah, so I just wanted to mention. So, we caught that error. I saw it, addressed it, and re-exported it. And now I know, okay, this looks like I can print it. Now, I wanted to mention too is that again, with our library partners, that we're working in the digital realm, and then I'm gonna maybe just ask Jeff a question that's been coming up here. But I just want to mention that if you want to print, feel free to use the libraries as a resource too, because you can print at the library. So no, I know not a lot of us have printers necessarily around as much now as we get into like iPads and tablets and smaller computers and desktops. So you might not have a big printer, but remember you can always go to the libraries. So it's usually low cost or no cost, and you can go and print, just print it out and see. And it might not be necessarily color accurate or like a real amazing print, but at least sometimes you might see stuff that you didn't see on your screen because there's a lot of stuff on your screen. And just sometimes seeing that paper doesn't hurt. So I know we're talking about, digital arts, but it still helps to get that physical printout sometimes. But Jeff, I just had one of the questions here. I wanted to find out, could you talk a bit about the digital publishing? So like when you do it for Kindle and how that works.
Well, I can sort of go through the process as I found it, and it's changing as I've just mentioned. Um, yeah, so it's basically much very much AI, artificial intelligence. It's you're dealing with bots and computers telling you how to do it, how to do it so that they can publish it correctly. And so you basically are filling out questionnaires a lot. A lot of what you do for KDP is you're kind of classifying your book a lot. You're giving the title. You're classifying it. Is it a nonfiction? Is it fiction? You go through these lists of menus of things that will describe your book or that will fulfill your book and or that will describe it for a reader so that they can say, well, I'm looking for a nonfiction comic story or a comic strip story. And so I try to classify it, of course, to my comic strips to something that will describe a published weekly or daily comic strip and that's usually in the nonfiction comics in that area. So you're going through things like that a lot. So it's a lot of paperwork basically, but and then you get into uploading your files, and that's a different part of it right there. So you're trying to fit in my case, it's pretty simple. It's just fitting my artwork into the gutters, and if you're publishing text and whatnot, which I've done as well in other parts of my work, you're having to do the same thing, fit the text in. You have to make it readable. You have to make sure that it's going to, if it's on a press, a 4-color press, is it still going to be legible, or is it going to, be blurry? And you have to make sure that all those things are thought about, considered. It's mainly technical things like, is it the right size? Is all the image inside the gutters? How many pages is it? And all that is. Do you want to have a? I remember one time I published a book for somebody else on Amazon, and we had a title on the spine, and I had the worst time trying to figure out on a 100-page book or whatever it was how much room I had on the spine. Like I had to, the thickness of the paper, you have to figure all that out too. Or, if you're going to put something on the spine, the artwork, it's a lot of things to consider. So just go into it that you just you'll learn and take notes, keep notes for next time. But I will tell you that they're very good at Amazon for getting copies to you as fast as possible. I did notice with the most recent book I've been doing, they haven't been getting the copies to me quite as quickly, and I would normally get them within a 24-hour period, at least a proof. And then if I ordered more than one copy, it would be a week at the latest, which is incredible to me. But and they were always just really professional. I had very few problems. I know a couple of people that have had volumes published by them, and they've had bent corners and whatnot. I know I did have a packaging issue when I had ordered some author's copies with my most recent one. And there were some corner issues with that as well. But normally they package it very well if you're getting 10, 20 books. Never been disappointed with the package that I had of 20 books, my most recent big order. So very professionally printed and cut, and yeah, I have no complaints there at all. So yeah, again, as I say, that was a lot of I did a lot of research on it, and I finally decided on that. So yeah, it's not as easy as you may think. It's easy when you get to know it, but getting there can be quite frustrating at times. But once you're there, it's very very good, and you can if you can hang on to what you learn each time, you can it'll be something that you probably be happy to do again and again. But yeah, as far as the process, it's changing now. It's now they you know, and I'm not keeping up with it as well as I should have, and that's my own fault, I guess. But you know, it doesn't hurt to check around with other companies. And I know there's a few local printers, and they're not very well known, I suppose. But there's Ginger Press, you know, and Sound, which I think if I was going to go with a smaller publisher, that they'd be somebody I would try to go with, because they're very good for local content and local books, and they're very professional. And so yeah, it's something that you should really do your research on, and you know, see if they're better than the other guy, and you'll find your sweet spot, I hope, by checking around. I mean, it's really important to do your research all the way through, and you know, if something, what I've been doing has worked well for me in the past, but if I find that it's something else will work better for me in the future, then I need to be big enough to say, well, maybe I need to explore that. So I think that's something that I would recommend there. But I certainly have no problems with Amazon and KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. I think they've been very good. So I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. Now, just to follow up on that, so is it a different file for the KDP versus the Amazon? Like, is it two different files, or is it the same file that goes to both?
Well, Amazon, of course, is the distribution system, so it is available on Amazon. But KDP is the Kindle Direct Publishing, which was the former Create Space, I think it was called, and they were taken over by Kindle Direct Publishing. So they are connected to Amazon, but I don't know. I think Amazon Publishing might be something quite different. Anyway, that's what I've always dealt with, was the Create Space, and then what is now KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. So that I really am not sure about. Amazon might be I always did look at the Amazon, and it always sent me to the Kindle Direct Publishing, which I assumed that's what Amazon was. So again, I'm still learning.
I guess the question would it be, so when you do that publishing, does that mean it's available as a digital, like for Kindle use, and as a printed copy? Like, is that what happens?
Yes, ideally you can have it available to both. You can have it as a Kindle product, which I'm having a bit of trouble getting the one I just showed you, the Flats Farm book 2, or sorry, the Average Farm companion book 2. I'm trying to get it into Kindle, and I'm having some trouble with that. So again, learning experiences. But yeah, it's basically your book in a digital format that they would sell in a PDF form, I guess, or that's readable on a Kindle device. And yeah, and you should be able to do it. But my other previous 2 books that I did there, no problem. I was able to upload them as Kindles, but for some reason this time I'm having trouble. But ideally, that's what you can do, is have them available in all the formats that they offer.
Perfect. No, I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that's it for the questions. And yeah, thanks for getting into that, because I think that that experience of dealing with that, and the trials and tribulations, and I think that's just great advice to learn, and and get all the information as you go, right? And like Jeff says, things keep changing, and I think that's I think the big takeaway, that things change, but just stay, ask, and I think that's the big thing, is ask questions, find out the information, and like Jeff said, don't rush into any big orders. Just take your time, especially in learning the process, and make sure that like I just today's example, right? We If I rushed and printed even that 5-page book, I would have had these weird gray boxes printed on it, right, for no reason. So in a rush, that could have happened, but just take the time, and like Jeff said, he has his wife review it, have other people review it. The digital, right? There's no cost to digital versus going on from there. So yeah, really, really great session, and yeah. So thanks again, Jeff.
I hope everybody learned something. I know I'm constantly learning this side of it, and it's not always easy for me. But I've been in publishing for newspapers for quite a while, so uh, I've seen a lot of things changing, and they're constant. The newspaper industry, I found, has changed so much in the past 25 years. It's totally different than it was when I first entered it. So anyway, it continues in the book publishing. But I mean, what I really think is great is it's becoming more accessible to you, as regular, people that just want to get your product out there. And it's certainly a good time to get into this, and to try it, and to see your work in print. And it's a fantastic feeling. And when you've done it, and the more you do it, the better you'll get. So I would just encourage you to keep learning, and explore your boundaries, and enjoy it. And thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. That's really again, great advice, and I encourage everyone, you can rewatch these, rewatch today's session, parts 1 through 4. All three, the first three are on YouTube already. Part 4 will add. Once again, thanks to all our partners in making this project happen: Canada Council for the Arts and our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library, and please do check out the loan equipment, digital arts, computers, and everything that are available there as well. So thanks again, and have a great rest of the day.